Let us begin and get into the Christmas mood by going to our light bearer today, who is Chic Welsh-Charrier, who is going to light the fourth Advent candle for us, the candle for joy. Chic, on to you.
Our first three candles, representing faith and hope, peace and love, are all lit. And today we light the fourth candle, the candle representing joy. And from Isaiah 55:12, you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. And so it is.
All right, our centering prayer today. This might be a little longer than usual, but this is what we have as part of our theme today. Today's theme is welcoming the stranger. Today we celebrate the birth of the Christ. All those years ago, a child was born to a couple of no particular social status or wealth, the son of a carpenter. His birth had been foretold by the prophets. It was expected that he would be incarnated as a prince or a king or someone of mighty political and military strength. It was expected that he would clash with Rome and set the people of Israel free from their domination. But Jesus was born in a humble place, to a humble family, among domestic animals, and laid in a manger. This child's rise to prominence was not expected or invited. Was it foretold in the scripture? After all, who was this person? Another Jewish child in an occupied land, another mouth to feed in the teeming ancient world, a stranger of no particular interest. If one accepts his teachings, he was a beggar, a thief, a blind man, a leper, a Samaritan. He was someone robbed, beaten, and left for dead on the road. He was a fallen woman. He was a fisherman. He was your neighbor. What he did to the least of us, what we did to the least of our people, we did to him. He was also the Son of God, sent to redeem us, to make us understand who we are, to remind us that we too are divine and that we should act accordingly. The old guard viewed Jesus in his time as a heretic, a trickster, a Jew who cavorted with lowlifes and tax collectors. He was seen as a threat to the established order. He did like to shake things up. He challenged the status quo and he disregarded convention. He opened his heart to outsiders, to strangers. 2,000 years later, we continue to grapple with the concept of the stranger. We lucky ones are born into affluent nations, into abundance and opportunity. But many of our brothers and sisters are not. They're born in situations of lack, of duress, conflict. So they seek better lives for themselves and their children. They set out under difficult circumstances and against great odds towards more prosperous countries where they might have a safe place to sleep and an opportunity for their children to thrive. Many of them do this illegally, in desperation. Instead of finding compassion, they often meet opposition. Sometimes they meet a physical wall. Lately, the golden door has been closing on strangers. These days, such people are used as pawns for political purposes, shunted from one place to another. Don't they deserve our compassion? Aren't these our brothers and sisters? The least of us? If so, shouldn't we be helping them, caring for them, seeing them? What would Jesus say to us today about these strangers? There are other kinds of strangers too, including our own negative thoughts and emotions. Doubt, fear, sadness, lack. Confronted with these, we can find ourselves, as a wise member of our own congregation has once told us, behind enemy lines in our own heads. How do we deal with these? In order to confront these negatives, we have to accept them first. We have to acknowledge them. We have to understand that they are part of us. If we are to thrive, we have to foray into the unfamiliar and the uncomfortable. Sometimes we have to become strangers in a strange land in order to make peace with the wilderness in ourselves. I think that Jesus would say, do not fear what you do not know. Do not turn away from the unfamiliar, for there may be opportunity there. You are not looking through a window, you're looking into a mirror. Welcome the stranger in. That is the theme for our service today. Let us now move on to our first musical selection with Irene.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see the light above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. For Christ is born of Mary and gathered all above, while mortals sleep, the angels keep their watch, a wondering love. Oh, morning stars together proclaim the holy birth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace to man on earth, peace to man on earth.
First reading, John 1, verses 1 through 18. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by it, and without it was made nothing that was made. In it was life, and the light was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came as a witness to bear witness of light, so that all through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of the light that was the true light, who lights all men that come into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and yet the world knew him not. He came among his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them he gave power to be the children of God, in that they believe on his name, who were born of not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor yet of the man of God, but of God. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we saw the glory of it as the glory of the only begotten Son of the Father, which word was full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I spoke, who though he came after me, went before me, because he was before me. And of his fullness we have all received, even grace for grace. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. No man has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him."
Adeste, Fidelis, Leti triumphantes, venite, venite in Bethlehem. Natum videte regem angelorum, venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus. The first Noel, the angel did say, was the certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay, keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east, beyond them far, and to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued with both day and night. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King
Book of Luke, chapter 2, verses 1 through 20. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken for the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph went up from the town of Nazareth to Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today, in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. There will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests." When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what they had been told about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds had said to them. But Mary treasured these all things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and terror pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. On your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, a night divine, O night when Christ was born. O night to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Goodwill on earth, with everyone a brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we, let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Then ever praise we his power and glory evermore proclaim. His power and glory evermore proclaim.
This is an excerpt from Here's Why Jesus Would Welcome the Refugee Caravan by Craig Greenfield and is used with permission. If you were God and you were planning on coming to Earth, what kind of role would you take on in society? Would you be a wealthy CEO, a powerful politician, a celebrity rapper with a cooking show? Or would you choose to become a poor child on the run from violence and oppression? There is something profoundly significant about the fact that God's own Son walked this earth as an undocumented child refugee. This was no accident. It was part of the divine plan all along. He could have been born and lived as a prince, a wealthy landowner, or the chief priest. But instead, he chose to become a refugee, forever linking himself with the most vulnerable people on earth. So God's heart is very much for the refugee. His own Son chose to become a refugee, to the point where Jesus proclaimed, "I was a stranger and you welcomed me in." Whatever you do for refugees, you do for him. Ultimately, when it comes down to the reality of welcoming refugees, you will come face to face with your deepest fears. That your jobs might be taken, that your nation will change, that your community will look different, that resources will be spread more thinly, that you will no longer be part of a demographic majority, that Christians will no longer be a majority. But what do these fears reflect but an unhealthy attachment to power, comfort, and control? We enjoy being the majority. We love the privilege that comes from being in power. We love having more than we need to meet our basic needs. But is that what Jesus has called us to grasp for? Has he not called us to lay down our lives for others, to love our neighbor, no matter what the cost? Surely this is a difficult calling. Only love can overcome fear. And that is why I appeal to you on the basis of relationship and familial ties. What if that refugee child were your own flesh and blood? What if they were your own son or daughter? What mountain would you not climb? What politician would you not lobby? What price would you not pay to see them brought to safety? Only the kind of love we usually reserve for family can overcome the fear and selfishness that teaches us to close our doors and turn away from their plight. But Jesus calls us to a different way, the way of peace, the radical welcome, and laying down our lives for others.
Life is full of sweet surprises. Every day's a gift. The sun comes up and I can feel it lift my spirit. Fills me up with laughter, fills me up with song. I look into the eyes of love and know that I belong. Bless us all who gather here, the loving family I hold dear. No place on earth compares with home, and every path will bring me back from where I roam. Bless us all, that as we live, we always comfort and forgive. We have so much that we can share with those in need we see around us everywhere. Let us always love each other. Lead us to the light. Let us hear the voice of reason singing in the night. Let us run from anger and catch us when we fall. Teach us in our dreams and please, yes please, bless us one and all. Bless us all with playful ears, with noisy games and joyful tears. We reach for you and we stand tall, and in our prayers and dreams we ask you, bless us all. We reach for you and we stand tall, and in our prayers and dreams we ask you, bless us all.
Through slightly teary eyes, this is Matthew 2, verses 13 through 23. When the Magi had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said. "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. "A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they are no more." After Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel. For those who are trying to take the child's life are dead." So he got up, took the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. And so was fulfilled what was said through the prophets, that he would be called a Nazarene.
What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh. Come, peasant king, on him the King of Kings salvation brings. Let loving hearts enthrone him. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary.
From The Guest House by Jalal al-Din Rumi. This human being is a guest house, every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
When I find myself in of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. And there will be an answer, let it be. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now. Oh, war is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you truly want it. War is over. War is over now.
This is an excerpt from All Strangers and Beggars Are from Zeus, Early Greek Views of Hospitality by Pamela Johnson, used as permitted under a CC by NC license from Fresno Pacific University. From Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Xenia is the Greek concept of hospitality or generosity and courtesy shown to those who are far from home. It's often translated as guest friendship or ritualized friendship because of rituals of hospitality created and expressed a reciprocal relationship between guests and hosts. The Greek god Zeus was sometimes referred to as Zeus, Xenios, a god of travelers. This created a particular religious obligation to be hospitable to travelers, but guests also had responsibilities beyond reciprocating hospitality. The practice of xenia, as described in the ancient texts, consistently addressed proper hospitality to strangers as follows. The stranger arrives at one's door. The stranger is welcome. Any weapons are removed and the stranger is invited in. The stranger is given the opportunity to bathe. He is invited to sit and usually given the best seat at the table, where food and drink and sometimes entertainment are provided. After this, and only after all needs are attended to, is the stranger asked who they are, where they have come from, and the purpose of their journey. The guest is given a safe and warm place to sleep. Often a gift is given as well when the stranger leaves. The host must be hospitable to the guest, and the guest must be courteous to the host and not be a burden. The parting gift is to show the host honor at receiving the guest. This was especially important in those times when men thought gods mingled among them in disguise. If you had played host to a deity and performed poorly, you would incur the wrath of that god. The practice of making strangers unwelcome, that has a name too. It's xenophobia.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? One pale thin ray reaching for the day. We can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of man. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick and heart by heart. Now, maybe now we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of man. When your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed, you can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but finally
From Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 to 40. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on the right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we see you as a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me."
It's not the glow you feel when snow appears. It's not the Christmas cards you've sent for years. Not the joyful sound of sleigh bells ring, or the merry songs children sing. The little gift you send on Christmas Day will not bring back the friend you've turned away. So may I suggest the secret of Christmas? It's not the things you do at Christmas time, but the Christmas things you do all year through.
Japanese Apple by Leanne Waripaw is used with permission from the Southern Illinois University Press. Japanese Apple. She was given an apple on the plain, round and fragrant with the scent of her grandfather's fruit orchards during autumn, when chestnuts dropped from their trees and struck the metal rooftop like small, heavy tongues of bells, and black dragonflies, like quick, shiny needles, darted in and out of the spin and turn of leaves fluttering down like soft, bright scraps of silk. She wrapped the apple in a napkin to save it for later, and it was confiscated at customs before she had the chance for even a taste. Over the years, it seemed to grow larger, yellower, juicier, and more delicious. And even though there were burnished rows of apples stacked in gleaming pyramids at the supermarket with quaint names like Macintosh, Winesap, and Granny Smith, and even though there were sunlit apple orchards at my American grandfather's ranch, where rattlesnakes slumbered in the heat of redolence of fruit flesh frightening the horses, she sampled one after another, but they never tasted as sweet or as bright as the apple taken from her, the one she left behind.
Thousands of years ago, a tiny baby was born to ransom captive Israel. That stranger transformed the receptive human heart and opened the gates of paradise to all humankind. Today, we come together as a spiritual community to celebrate the coming of the Christ, born that we may no longer die. And we remember his teachings, among them to love our neighbor as well as ourselves. It is not easy to embrace a stranger. It may be even more difficult to accept the stranger in ourselves. We are so severe with ourselves. Am I attractive enough? Am I intelligent enough? Am I worthy? Do I deserve love? Jesus said emphatically, yes. You are loved and cherished by God, who made you. You are more than enough. You are perfect. You are unique. You are eternal. As we progress through the mortal world, we must look deep within ourselves and embrace the murkiest parts as much as the rest. It all matters because we are on a mission and we need that fuel. In the crucible of this mortal plane, we will burn away the impurities that obscure the gold, and we will recognize our own worth as God has always known it. God sent Jesus the Christ to us to prepare the way to our own good. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Let us not fear the stranger, the unknown inner reaches of our own being. Let us reach out or reach in with open arms, as Jesus did. Remember, you and I were one before the world was. Amen. If you will now listen as I recite the prayer for protection, let us bathe the world in our own love at Christmas time. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth. We can build a beautiful city. Merry Christmas. Take it away, Alan.